This is All India Radio. In Surkhiyon Mein, now we bring you a program on budget for investment-led growth.
Hello and welcome to this special program on the Union Budget 2021. We are now joined by Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog. Dr. Rajiv Kumar, almost 2 decades back the focus was on highways, and we know that Atal Bihari ji focused on the golden quadrilateral. In budget announcement, a record allocation of more than 1,18,000 crore rupees for the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Would you say that it's again a renewed focus on highways and roads?
Well, a continued focus is a better way of putting it, simply because this government, since it has come into office, has continued the trust which Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji gave to the construction of national highways and roadways, and also to the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. The new emphasis is that along with the roadways which have got 1,08,000 crore for capital investment, you've also got 1,07,000 crore for railway infrastructure, which is unprecedented, and which will mean that you will get a new sort of modernized railway system for a new India by 2030. And similarly, as you know, that we have the flagship corridors and expressways which will be announced for the for the national highways, as also for the railways, the freight corridors which will be completed by December of 2022. They will provide a huge fillip to the transport and connectivity infrastructure. And then the urban infrastructure, the two new schemes of Metro Light and Metro New, which will be more cost effective.
And now we are joined by Shri Ajit Kumar, the chairman of CPIC. Mr. Ajit Kumar, from the taxation perspective, how do you see it?
I think it's a very positive and a very growth-oriented budget. We are taking forward the Prime Minister's call for Atmanirbhar Bharat. What we are trying to ensure is that our industry, which had suffered a bit during this pandemic time, we try to protect those factories or industries where we can start manufacturing value-added products. So allowing imports of finished products or parts to come in. We have tried to raise duty on those where our own small sector MSMEs are capable of manufacturing these goods, so that due to this protection, they start manufacturing these goods within India. And wherever raw materials are required, we have reduced the rates because basic raw materials can come in and our industry can start growing. Credit goes to our entrepreneurs, to our manufacturers, that they rose to the challenge. Then we said, why not? If we give them the right atmosphere and we give them the protection they need, they can do wonders, and they have done it.
As far as rationalization of taxation is concerned, especially with the focus on indirect taxation, although GST decisions are taken by the council, can we expect some kind of rationalization in GST, and also those commodities which are outside the ambit of GST, like alcohol, like petrol and diesel, they also come into the ambit?
You have already seen the case of customs. A lot of work has gone in the past few years, and around 4,000 lines on the customs side we have rationalized the tax structure. So the intention of government is to ensure that the taxes are simple and that they follow a certain pattern. There is no inversion of duty, so that production can be smooth. That same philosophy of government is also there on the GST side. But then the mechanics are slightly different. We have to go through the GST council. The last council meeting also, this matter had come up and it was discussed. Only it was felt that it's not the right time now to do it. I'm sure in the next couple of meetings that will take place, these issues will come up for discussion.
Now let's go across the Chief Economic Advisor, K.V. Subramanian. Tell us, what is your overall assessment of budget proposal?
This budget has taken significant steps to provide fillip to that recovery, so that in the coming financial year, India can grow really well, at least 10.5 to 11% in real terms. But at the same time, the budget, having been the first budget of this decade, has also laid important foundation for the Indian economy to grow at high growth rates of 8% plus over this decade. It has taken significant steps in that direction. There's been an increase of almost 140% in the expenditure for health. Do remember that health is a state subject, and so 2/3 of healthcare spending by the government comes from state government. So of the 1/3 part, there's been a huge increase from the center, almost 2.5 lakh crores provided for healthcare. And this has been provided both for preventive and curative healthcare, because the preventive part comes from sanitation, from clean drinking water, which has been provided for, apart from the curative part as well, where the 65,000 crores, approximately, the Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana has been provided for. The second related to that is the provision for vaccination, 35,000 crores. Vaccination is also a vaccine for the economy, because it can really bring people back into economic economic activities, especially in the service sector. The second important part is the financial sector. Even entering into COVID, the Indian financial sector was facing challenges. There have been several steps that have been taken in the financial sector. The first is the creation of the bad bank in the private sector so that it can be effective. The proposal to divest 2 public sector banks and 1 general insurance company. The proposal to set up development financial institutions within the public sector and to enable development financial institutions in the private sector that infrastructure financing can be provided for. And last but not the least, the insurance FDI limit actually for the insurance sector being raised from 49% to 74% with necessary safeguards about residents being the managers on the board, etc. The third is the infrastructure, and the infrastructure is really critical. And here, roads, railways, and power have been emphasized significantly. A 32% increase in infrastructure on a significantly higher outlay this year itself has been provided for. So when you put this all together, also add in the realistic estimates and the transparent budgeting that has been done, I think, it all amounts to a dream budget.
And now let's go across to Dr. V.K. Paul, member of Niti Aayog. We have seen how the provisions have been made targeting the health sector, 35,000 crore rupees for the COVID-19 vaccine. What can the people of this country expect to get free vaccination over a period of time?
Of course, very reassuring, first and foremost, and it demonstrates the clear priority that the government is attaching to getting the vaccine to maximum number of people, and also to make sure that resources will not be a limiting factor for ensuring such an access. So this is, a fulfillment of the promise which the government had made and repeatedly made, that the resources will not come in the way of vaccine availability to the people of India. As the Chief Economic Advisor was saying, vaccination should not only be seen as saving lives, but also re-energizing fully the economic wheels and the social well-being of the nation.
Do you think now the focus will come back again on the healthcare sector, whether it is primary, secondary or tertiary healthcare in the entire country?
I think you can clearly notice that the focus on health is now central to the government's overall agenda for health, and to make health of the people holistic health, preventive, curative, rehabilitative, all facets of health get the required resources from the state. The public spending will match the expectations of the people in every facet. And therefore, you can clearly see this time around that push is visible, and this push is there to speak for itself.
We are now joined by the Secretary General of FICCI, Mr. Dilip Shenoy. Mr. Shenoy, what would you say? We are talking about the fiscal deficit, 9.5% for the current year and 6.8% for the next year. So how easy would it be to bring it down by almost, say, 50% from 9.5 to 6.8?
So it's you also have to remember that we are in a V-shaped recovery. So if you look at the revenue points in the first quarter of next year compared to the minus 23% in the first quarter of this year, the numbers are going to speak for themselves. So you're going to see that. Second is also because the idea of presenting, and the Prime Minister's idea and the Finance Minister's idea of actually getting the budget presented and getting the committees to meet and getting the budget passed very quickly is to start expenditure on 1st April. So that is a point that a lot of people forget. Earlier, it used to take a lot of time to get the expenditure going and to go. Now it's going to happen from 1st April. And very interesting that if you look at the PLI scheme, the scheme is already budgeted here, but all the action and the things will be finished by March. So you'll actually see execution of that, and you'll see things happening. Most of the infrastructure schemes, they have been done in the National Infrastructure Pipeline. They've been identified. There's a dashboard going on there. So there's a full thing that there will be a revenue increase, and that the fiscal deficit could be brought down there. But given the fact we are all talking in the context that the vaccination will be a success, there will be no second round of kind of a pandemic. There are a lot of things there. But, again, the Finance Minister out of a capital budget has kept 44,000 crores with herself to say that we will use it to do other things. So there is very interesting thing to this budget that should there be something there, we are prepared for it financially. And also mentioned there that she's going to look at ways to incentivize the states to actually invest here. So that's the other thing that they're looking at.
So that's it in this program on the budget. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.
You were listening to a program on budget for investment-led growth. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on a mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You may email opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.